welcome back to the Bobby Lee Bitcoin podcast. I'm Bobby Lee, and today we have Hope Parsons here. Hope is a sort of millennial Gen Z hybrid. Is a millennial from Las Vegas. So, you're a copywriter?
Yes, I'm a recent college graduate. I'm a copywriter, and I'm just very curious about this culture and this world. So.
Yes. Earlier, you're telling me that you're a heavy user of Twitter and social media.
Yes.
And your exposure to cryptocurrency is through your social media.
Yes.
Because you haven't actually invested or bought any sort of Bitcoin or cryptocurrency.
Yeah. No. With student debt, it's kind of hard for me to consider investing in that right now.
Yes.
But I do think it's very interesting, the culture I kind of see with these influencers who kind of have this expendable amount of money going, oh, I have this Bitcoin, I'm investing in this Bitcoin, and it's such a big boom that I'm just so fascinated by the culture around it. Yeah.
What's your impression so far? When was the first time? How long ago did you first hear about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
I believe in 2019 is when I started hearing a little bit more buzz about it on the internet. I do watch a lot of YouTube, and I feel like a lot of YouTubers, especially male YouTubers, are like, oh, I got this Bitcoin, I'm making all this money. And it's just with social media, everything's kind of like a front, Yeah. So people want to flex that oh, I have all this money with my Bitcoin, I can buy cars and this and that. So that was my first exposure to it. So to me, it just seemed kind of a man's world of gambling with cryptocurrency. And I didn't quite understand it. To me, cryptocurrency sounded like video game currency, you're spending real money for something virtually. But the more I've learned about it, the more I find it's interesting, the purpose of Bitcoin and why people are investing in it.
Yeah. So tell me, do you have any personal friends or family members who are exposed and actually have purchased or own Bitcoin and cryptocurrency?
The only one I can think of is I have a friend who has stock investments.
Yes.
And she was considering investing in crypto. But the problem is I feel like there's a lot of misconceptions and misinformation about crypto. So it's kind of hard to go, okay, well, which Bitcoin, which crypto do I invest in?
Yes.
How do I, what is the conversion rate between the US dollar and cryptocurrency?
What is the price, the conversion? Yeah.
So stuff like that, I think, is just kind of hard to navigate through.
Yeah. So in the last 3-4 years that you've been exposed to Bitcoin, what has your impression been?
I think it's fascinating because the more I think the current news, we had the coin shortage, and we have current events going on, the Japanese yen is going down. So I think actual currency and the value of the dollar or the pesos or whatever the currency is on a decline. So for crypto to exist in this economy, I think it's very fascinating. And especially in Las Vegas, a lot of stores or casinos are accepting cryptocurrency.
That's right. It's starting to make its way into society.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing you mentioned properly is the value of money, right? Mm-hmm. So think of the U.S. dollar. We live in America.
Right.
The U.S. dollar is our currency. It's been our currency for hundreds of years. Right. And it's also a measuring stick of value. Mm-hmm. Right. Think about how we measure things in the world. So for weight.
Right.
For mass, we have pounds or kilograms or grams. For liquids like water, we have liters or gallons and quarts and all that. Mm-hmm. And then for temperature, we have the degrees, right? Fahrenheit degrees or Celsius degrees. Mm-hmm. But for value, for value, if you were to measure how expensive something, whether it's a car, whether it's furniture or some clothing, how do you measure the value of something? You measure in US dollars.
Yes.
So normally, when you look at a measuring instrument, the units don't shrink. Mm-hmm. So let's say for length, for height, how tall are you? How tall am I? Mm-hmm. We grow taller as we grow up, but once we're an adult, we don't keep growing. And the reason we don't keep growing is because the measuring stick doesn't shrink. If it were to shrink, we would keep growing taller and taller and taller because even though we're the same height, but if the measuring stick, the yardstick or the meter stick were shrinking, then we would appear to be taller than we actually are, right? So with the U.S. dollar, you mentioned the yen has lost its value against the U.S. dollar. The reason is there's a lot of movement in value in the measuring the sort of value of the currency, the U.S. dollar versus the yen and the euro and so on. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why people do invest in Bitcoin, because unlike traditional money, like the US dollar, traditional money, we call it fiat money. Have you heard of that term?
Yes, I have.
What's your understanding of that?
The fiat term, so from my understanding of currency just in general in the United States, is that way back when there was all this money in Fort Knox.
Yes.
And
the gold
just,
and the money. Yeah.
And so we generate that based off of what's in Fort Knox. And then as of recent times, like there's pretty much no money left in Fort Knox to my knowledge.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of feels like we're borrowing money. And so to me, that's kind of like a fiat.
Yeah. So fiat just means declared by fiat. So the government says this money is valuable even though it's no longer backed by gold or other precious commodities. In the traditional days, money would be made from gold and silver.
Right.
Either directly as coins or they're backed by gold and silver through paper notes and banknotes. But these days, it's poof, it's gone.
Right.
So you have the US dollar, you have the Japanese yen or the euros, but they're not backed by any gold and silver anymore. So that's why the prices, there's inflation and all that. Now with cryptocurrency is actually not backed by gold or silver either, nor is it backed by US dollars. But the difference with Bitcoin as a cryptocurrency is Bitcoin has a strict limited number of units.
Okay.
Do you know what that is?
So basically it's...
How many Bitcoins in the world?
Yeah, so when you invest in a Bitcoin, you're getting like one of those certain amounts.
Exactly.
Right?
You're getting a fractional amount of the whole Bitcoin pie. So the size of the global Bitcoin pool is 21 million units of Bitcoin.
Okay.
But just like pizza slices, just because you have a slice of pizza, you can actually cut it in half and have a smaller half a slice.
Okay.
You can have a quarter of a slice. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
And because it's digital, you can have really, really small slices. So just like when you eat pizza, you don't have to always eat one slice. You could, if you can't finish, you can have half a slice if you had to cut it precisely. And with Bitcoin, same thing. You don't have to buy one Bitcoin. You can actually buy half a Bitcoin or a tenth of a Bitcoin or 1/100th of a Bitcoin. It might be too difficult to slice a pizza into 1/100th of a pizza, but with Bitcoin, it's very easy to slice it down to 1/100th or even 1/1000th of a fractional amount of a Bitcoin. Yeah, but the total amount adds up to 21 million.
Okay.
So that's a global total supply in all of eternity. So, yeah.
So how does that get declared? Like, where did Bitcoin essentially start that we have these 20 million, like, database for people to purchase, like, a quarter or a fraction of?
Yeah, so that was designed like that.
Okay.
Meaning that when Bitcoin was invented, it was actually proposed in 2008, and the final Bitcoin started running in early 2009. So this is like 14 years ago, right? So 14 years ago, Bitcoin came about. But even before Bitcoin came about, the rules were already set. The author, the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto, he decided he wanted to create an internet currency, a digital currency, a decentralized currency, which means that it's not controlled by any one person. Even though he's a creator, he doesn't have authority and control over it. He shared it with the whole world.
Okay.
And then he said one of the important cardinal rules of Bitcoin is that there shall be only 21 million Bitcoin.
Okay.
And that was a rule that was programmed in, and anyone who signed on to use and buy and own Bitcoin essentially agrees to these rules. If you disagree, then you can certainly disagree and you can use something different. But with Bitcoin, it's always 21 million.
So how does that play? Because there's other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin.
That's right.
So how does... Let's say like I buy X amount of Bitcoin, but then I want to invest in like, I think Elon Musk had like Dogecoin or something.
That's right.
And so what would be the conversion rate if I wanted to trade like a Bitcoin for like a Dogecoin or an Ethereum?
That's a great question. So it turns out not just there's Dogecoin, there's all these other cryptos.
Right.
There's probably 10, 20, 50 popular ones. There are hundreds, even thousands of what we call unpopular or less popular ones, more speculative ones. So there's no limit. Anyone can go out and create one. You can create a hope coin. There might already be a hope coin, right? So it may have nothing to do with you, but you can create your own hope coin. And the point is, cryptocurrency is just a technology. Anyone can create their own coin. However, that's not a bad thing about cryptocurrency per se, right? Think about money, right? The US dollar is what they call the global reserve currency. And Japan is a large country. Europe is a large zone.
Right.
So you have the Euro zone with the Euro currency and Japan with the Japanese yen. But you have small countries or even companies might create their own for fun currency.
Okay.
There's no limit in terms of who can issue their own currency, right? But the value of those currencies are nebulous. Like it's not clear that those newly issued small country currencies will be very valuable. So that's why in today's world we have a free market. The U.S. dollar, the Japanese yen, or some no-name country creates their own currency. Well, how many Japanese yen can you get from one U.S. dollar? It used to be about 100 yen. Now it's like 140.
Yeah.
Right. So same thing. How many of this no-name currency can you get for one U.S. dollar? So it'll depend on market forces, supply and demand.
Okay.
Now with Bitcoin and Dogecoin, it's a similar thing. So Bitcoin is the most respected, the most what they call the gold standard, the most blue chip of cryptocurrencies. That's the one I really favor. I wrote a book about it, The Promise of Bitcoin. So that's the one people recommend to invest in, right? Okay. And then for Dogecoin, there are people who like that as well. They can buy that. And then I think one Bitcoin can get you like a lot of Dogecoin.
Right. So to me, this is very similar to stocks and the stock market. So if you have X amount of like either Bitcoin or Dogecoin, and you see these news articles about like the price is skyrocketing of this, how do you know like, oh, this is the time I want to sell my Bitcoin or I want to trade my Bitcoin? Is that like a similar?
Yeah, it is. It's life. So what I'm trying to tell you is there is no right answer. Just like you buy a car, you might one day sell it as a used car. Just like you buy a home, you might sell it and move somewhere else, or you want to upgrade to a larger home. Ideally, every time you buy something, an asset, invest in something, and you sell it, you make money. Right. A home, you resell it, or even a car, right? Ideally. Resell it, yeah. But some assets are appreciating, like home real estate and stocks. Some are depreciating. Like most, usually, if you buy a car and you resell it after a few months or a few years, you're probably going to get less money for it than when you first paid for it. That's just because the value of the car goes down after using it. Now, for home, real estate, business stocks, equities, what they call, the idea is the price should go up. But the reality is that the market dynamics, you've heard of the stock market going up, going down. Same thing with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So ideally, if you were to invest in crypto, it would go up over time. But every few weeks and months and certain days, they might have a big market crash and the price would come down. So there's no guarantee. So first of all, there's no guarantee on the price and the value of investment will go up. And there's also there is no quote unquote the right time or the perfect time. It's all based on what you want. So if you see it go up, you want to sort of cash in, then you can sell it for a profit. If you see it go down, if you panic, like, oh my gosh, it's gone down in value, I want to limit my loss, then you get rid of it at a loss. But some people think if it goes down, you can wait it out, maybe wait 6 months, a year, or even 6 years, and then it'll come back. Then you don't lose money. But on the other hand, there's another group of people who they wait it out and it just gets lower and lower, so you even lose more money. So honestly, no one can tell the future, so there's no right answer. Right. Yeah.
It's like the stocks. You're basically taking a gamble of like, oh, I want to keep, I want to. But the interesting thing too is, like I mentioned earlier, that crypto is being accepted as a form of like monetary value in like casinos and stuff. So people are spending their crypto that way. So it's kind of like there's two different dynamics going on here, right?
In which two dynamics?
One dynamic is you're investing to either sell and try to
make money,
make a profit, and then the other, I feel
you're buying it to use it later.
Yes.
Yeah, there is. Let me address an earlier point before we talk about the two dynamics.
Yeah, go for it.
So you mentioned gamble, right? So we're in Las Vegas. Las Vegas is a city of casinos and gambling.
Yes.
Now, what I want to point out is when you buy crypto, just like when you buy stock, it is not necessarily gambling. It can be gambling, but it's not necessary. So here's the actual example. So I don't know if do you invest in stocks?
No, I personally haven't, but I know people who have. I have family members who have.
So when you invest in stocks, normally, I'm guessing what people do is they do their research.
Right.
They figure out which company they look forward to owning the stock. They like the company. They think the company is going to do well. They have a certain expectation, and then they invest. They call it invest in it. Now, some people might say, oh, that's gambling because you don't know if it's going to go up and down. Well, technically, that's true. You don't know if it's going to go up, go down. But the fact that you chose one stock out of thousands, you chose this company to invest in, it means you have some confidence in it. So it's not pure gambling. Because in Las Vegas casino, it's more gambling. Because whether you're picking a number on the roulette wheel or you're picking, playing blackjack or rolling craps, shooting craps, you pick numbers and stuff like that. All of that is just by random chance. The heads or tails, how the wheel spins, and so on. So there's no science behind whether a number will come up more frequently than the other. These are all just random chance events. Now, for stocks, the idea is that you can pick a stock, you can pick the management company, the people behind it, the products they sell. So it's more of an educated investment rather than a pure gamble. What would be a gamble is if you have all the stocks printed on a Post-it note and you just throw a dart. And then you just buy the stock based on the dart, where the dart lands on, without looking. You throw a dart without looking. Then that's gambling because you're
taking a guess.
You're taking a guess. You're not even picking a company, right? So with cryptocurrency, that's the same concept. If you were just to pick a crypto randomly and put money in, that's gambling. But the idea that if you're picking a crypto that you have done some research, that you really understand, for example, we say that the two factors about investment and use case, then that's a more educated investment. It doesn't mean that you won't lose money. It just means that you put some thought and research behind it, and which is what I recommend for you to do.
You're right. Yeah, being only 22, like I said, I don't have many investments currently.
Yeah.
So that's why it's fascinating to me that this is because to me, I have friends and family members who have invested in stocks, and you see this kind of old money mentality of well, we invest in stocks, we made all this money, we're going to retire, blah, blah, blah. So it's for me being this young, I'm where should I start investing? Because to me, this is kind of crazy that we're converging worlds of cryptocurrencies being accepted transactionally in the real world.
Yeah.
It's not just online day trading.
That's right. So let's talk about that. So cryptocurrency, the reason, let me just chime in on the topic. The reason it is being accepted in the real world, and you mentioned some good examples, right? You mentioned that, what have you seen, by the way, cryptocurrency, Bitcoin being accepted in the real world? What have you seen?
Casinos, you can use it to gamble.
So you can, so I just want to clarify, you can go to casinos, you could actually bring your crypto, quote unquote, and put it into a crypto ATM, a Bitcoin ATM machine at the casino, and then get cash from it. The other thing you could do is put cash into a Bitcoin ATM and then get Bitcoin out. Okay, so that's what's available in the casinos. You have that at gas stations, convenience stores in Las Vegas and all around the country. And what else have you seen?
Just mainly convenience stores. I've seen one of the gas stations we accept crypto.
Exactly.
And it's just fascinating that this investment you can pay for your gas with it.
Exactly. And let me tell you about that. So not just gas. So there are a lot of online websites, merchants. You can buy things online by paying in crypto. And then even real world things like paying for cars using crypto, go to department stores. I don't think any department stores accept it yet.
No, not yet.
But it's a matter of time, in my opinion. So the reason behind these businesses allowing you to pay for things in crypto, and the reason behind these ATM machines and convenience stores where allow people to buy and sell is because there is actual usefulness to crypto. A lot of times, especially given that we live in the international world with a lot of countries, people coming from far away, whether it's immigrants or travelers, visitors, or people who have investments in other countries. You can be a native citizen in America, like an American, and not a foreigner, yet you might have investments in other countries. You want to move money around.
Gotcha.
So all of these scenarios, whether it's moving money around, remittance, earning money in the U.S. and sending it back to your home country, or you have savings in your home country you want to bring to the U.S. to spend, or even not across country, just within the U.S., how to send money from, you said you're from Chicago, right?
Right.
From Chicago to Las Vegas, right? What if you have banks, banks take, if you would do a wire transfer or send a cashier's check from your local bank in Chicago, it's gonna take some time, a few days, right? So with cryptocurrency, it could be done instantly, right? If someone, a friend of yours from school, in Chicago wants to send you some money,
right?
The faster way to do it without involving companies is to do it by crypto. But these days you have PayPal, Venmo, Zelle, But those all involve a central company like a
Right.
bank.
So when I was researching crypto a little bit, what I found really interesting is that the idea is it's eliminating that middleman of the banks.
Yes, it's a choice for you to eliminate them.
Yes.
Yeah, or not.
Or not. Yeah, depending. So is it just like a universal, like I want to send crypto like across the sea? It's just like a universal, like just automatically goes into like whatever crypto investments they have. It's not like...
So think of it as just like you have bank accounts,
Right.
you may have a crypto account.
Mm-hmm.
So with crypto, there's two ways to do this, okay? Traditionally, the easier way people have done it, which is not what I recommend, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
is to rely yet again on a company.
Gotcha.
So what some people do in the early days is they rely on an exchange
Mm-hmm.
or a crypto custodial service
Mm-hmm.
where they will hold the crypto for you.
Gotcha.
So you set up an account with them. Like an exchange, you say, my name is Hope.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is my birthday. This is my social security number. This is my address. This is my phone number, my email.
Right.
That's who you are. You authenticate yourself. They give you assign a password, SMS verification. So you have an account with this organization, and then they hold your crypto for you. So you would have these deposit addresses, these account numbers for crypto. And then when you either purchase crypto or people send you crypto or sell you crypto, you would then put the crypto into that deposit address, which is held by this organization, a bank, and exchange.
Right.
That's traditional way.
Mm-hmm.
A second way, a new way, which is what I recommend, it's more privacy and also more self-control, is for you to hold the crypto yourself. You can be your own bank. I don't know if you've heard of the expression, be your own bank. But with cryptocurrency, you can actually have a wallet, a software or hardware wallet. My company is called Ballet. We make hardware wallets. So something like this. So this would be an example of a wallet.
Mm-hmm.
It would have a deposit address, and then you can then have people send the crypto to you here.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it arrives, it's literally in your hand.
Gotcha.
And then no one can take it from you.
Gotcha.
Right? Because you actually have control of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the difference between these two methods is with the first one, there's an exchange, there's a custodian.
Right.
The problem is if they do something bad, if they screw up, if they get robbed, then you might lose access. Or if somehow there's stringent regulation for identification, identity theft, or someone hacker or thief logs into your account, you lose access to your email, whatever, they can break into your account and take your crypto away from you.
Gotcha.
Whereas with this, as long as you have it in your hands, in your possession, then no one can hack it or steal it from you.
Okay.
So if you own crypto, depending on the dollar amount, if it's just a few dollars, it doesn't really matter. But if it's hundreds or thousands of dollars, then you want to start thinking about how you want to hold it. Yeah.
And with the wallet, like your own personal wallet, let's say I want to take out my crypto now. You just you have access to it.
You have access to whenever. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So this would be an example. So take a look. Mm-hmm. So you could put crypto on here, take it to a casino and send it out.
Uh-huh.
You could take a convenience store, send it out, and you could buy something with it.
Mm-hmm. Go to the ATM.
Go to the ATM, yep, to convert it to US dollars.
Gotcha.
Or you could just save it, put it in your safe, hide it on your bed mattress or dig a hole in your backyard and bury it.
Right.
And after years and years, if the value goes up, then you've made a good investment. Yeah, that's the idea. But this is just one of many solutions, by the way. This is not the only solution. Some people have their mobile phone. They have apps on their phone. Mm-hmm. And then that's a wallet on the software wallet. There's pros and cons. It's easier. You carry it with you everywhere. Like this wallet, you would leave it at home. You wouldn't carry it with you everywhere.
Gotcha.
Right? Especially if you have a lot of money on there.
Yeah.
But with a phone, you carry it everywhere with you.
Right.
So if you're at a coffee shop, they take crypto. You could pay for coffee with crypto. But the downside is that because you carry it everywhere with you and because the phone is connected to the internet, you're at risk of losing hackers and stuff like that. So it's a trade-off.
It is a trade-off.
But regardless, no one else is in control.
Gotcha.
So the original method is you have it on an exchange. They have control over it. So yeah. So in the recent past, there's this exchange called FTX. They went belly up. So everybody who had money on that lost their crypto savings. It's really bad.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It is scary. Like if you invest in one of these unpopular ones, like you were saying, that they could just kind of fall through and you lose your investment. Yeah.
So that's why I definitely caution people, especially for new investors like yourself. So crypto is already sort of risky, right?
Right.
Traditionally, it's not the safe investment like real estate, stocks, and gold. Crypto
Right.
is like out there, right? We acknowledge it. Crypto is kind of new and crazy, right?
It's unique, yeah.
So given if you want to dabble your feet in cryptocurrency, what I highly recommend is stay with the gold standard, in this case, Bitcoin. So don't get greedy and try to buy all the crazy other coins. I highly recommend. I think Bitcoin is the solid one. But again, you have to do your research. Read my book if you want. Do some research and decide if you want to get into this.
I think that's another part with social media that kind of makes things go bigger than they actually are, because you see these influencers who are like, I just invested in da-da-da coin and it's going to go up, it's going to blow up. And then everyone kind of, it was almost like reminiscent of the GameStop stock market.
Oh, yes.
Of everyone's just like, all hands in, let's go. And then now it's kind of stagnant.
Yeah.
So I think it's really interesting that this is, do you think that with the US dollar and value kind of decreasing, coin shortages, everything, do you think crypto will become the new norm?
I think it could. I don't think it will in the next 5-10 years.
Okay.
I think just the US dollar, traditional money, central banks, there's a lot of inertia, a lot of momentum.
Gotcha.
Right? So
a lot of federal government involvement.
Yeah, not just the U.S. federal government. It's globally. No one wants to just say, "Oh, overnight, let's get rid of all money. Let's all go to cryptocurrency or Bitcoin."
Right.
I don't think that's practical. Just like when they switched from gold and silver to money, it wasn't done overnight.
Right.
It transitioned over hundreds of years. Right. From physical gold and silver coins, then eventually to paper money that was backed by gold and silver. And then eventually 50 years ago or 52 years ago in 1971, it finally switched over to paper money that's not backed by gold and silver. So today the coins that we're talking about in the US, the quarters, dimes, and nickels, these coins don't even have gold and silver in there anymore.
No.
They used to. They used to, right?
Right.
You have the silver dollar, right? The gold eagle. They used to have gold and silver, but now they don't anymore. So it's going to take some time. I think it could take 20 years. It could take 50 years. It might even go like 150 years later. Now, I do believe that we'll probably see something like that in my lifetime, but there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee.
Yeah, there's never a like for sure. But is crypto recognized by like federal governments at all or no?
So it depends how you ask the question, right? So crypto is people know about it.
Right.
They recognize it. But it is not, in the United States, it's not legal tender.
Gotcha.
So there's a definition. You've heard of the term legal tender, right? Have you heard of that?
No.
You probably don't know what it means. Okay.
No.
So on the US dollar bill, it says on there, this note is legal tender. Okay. It's just a legal definition, which means that this money, the US dollar, I don't care if it's a $5 or $100,
right.
It means that all businesses in the United States are obligated by law to accept this as money for payment.
Okay.
And that's what it means, legal tender. So in the United States, Bitcoin is not yet legal tender.
Gotcha.
But I use the word yet because I do think one day, cross my fingers, knock on wood, one day it would become legal tender.
Okay.
Probably not in the next 5 years, 10 years, but it could take longer.
Right.
However, what I can tell you is there are a few countries, started with El Salvador. Have you heard of El Salvador? Small country. Yeah. So they, last year, a few years ago, they made Bitcoin legal tender.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to El Salvador, if you have Bitcoin, in a wallet or a phone wallet, you can actually go to McDonald's, go to Starbucks.
And use your crypto.
And use crypto to pay for it. Not because McDonald's or Starbucks loves crypto, but because if you want to open a store in that country, you have to, by definition, by law rather, you have to accept Bitcoin because Bitcoin is legal tender in El Salvador. So it's quite interesting. I haven't been.
Fascinating.
I haven't been there, but I look forward to visiting sometime.
And using crypto.
Yeah, for sure. If I go to El Salvador, I'll pay for things in Bitcoin and just to see
how it works. Because then you're eliminating like convergency rates.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Now, for other countries, just to finish up the topic, like the United States or Japan, Bitcoin is not legal tender.
Right.
However, it doesn't mean that you're not allowed to use it. So a lot of stores in Japan actually accept Bitcoin as payment, just like stores and coffee shops and car dealerships in the US also accept Bitcoin. So it's a choice because we're a free country. So there's no ban or denial of the use of Bitcoin in the United States. So in that sense, it's sort of recognized, but it's not legal tender. Yeah.
Yet.
So that's yet. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that is interesting because I've been reading, I'm not super into like stocks and investments because I'm more focused on like, buying a house. Just
already? Thing. Wow. Amazing. That's great.
I'm trying to,
Yeah.
I don't think I could afford one.
You're ahead of you're ahead of the Gen Z.
I'm trying to be. I think that's just like a part of the culture for us. Is like we feel the need to like move as fast as possible.
That's awesome.
But researching things like that and like wanting to visit other countries, it's just fascinating because people now are like, oh, the Japanese yen fell, so now's the time to really convert USD to like yen and
go take a vacation
crazy.
to Japan, Tokyo,
and they just opened their borders.
That's right. There's a mad rush of people.
Yeah, there is a crazy rush, but I think it's fascinating if all countries had like legal tender for Bitcoin, then that would just kind of eliminate the need for worrying about can I convert like this amount of US dollar to this amount of like yen or pesos, whatever the currency is.
Yeah. So that's right. That's exactly right. So with cross-border travel, cross-border money movement, Bitcoin and cryptocurrency makes it a lot easier. So have you traveled out of the country?
No, not yet.
So when you do one day, what people do normally is they would exchange their money for US dollars or Japanese yen before they take the flight over.
Right.
You could go there directly and use a US-based Visa, MasterCard ATM card and get money at ATM machine, but you'd be charged some fees and all that stuff. So the third option is just bring crypto with you, and then at those locations, you could spend your crypto directly or get cash for your crypto. And plus, with this method, you don't even have to go there, right? You could send your crypto over there without even being there. You could, if you have friends there, or if they owe you money, or if you want to make a prepayment, that's what crypto is great for. Yeah. Think about how do you send US dollars to Japan? It's like, wow, how do I do that? I know how to use, for example, you may not use Zelle or Venmo, PayPal in the US, but how do you get US dollars to Japan or US dollars to Japanese yen into Japan or into France? Right. So that's something that's been traditionally very hard. Banks and remittance companies charge really high fees. Right. With crypto, it'll be much easier, less friction.
So now I have to segue into the next cryptocurrency that I think my generation is so focused on right now.
Which one is that?
NFTs.
Oh, NFTs. Yes. Well, NFT is not a cryptocurrency. It is a crypto.
Considered.
It's not considered a cryptocurrency. It is in the crypto industry. NFTs stands for non-fungible token. Right. Yeah, they look at it as digital JPEGs, as art or whatever. Yeah. What do you think of NFTs?
I think it's so funny to me. Like, I think it's very funny because there's so much fight with, like on Twitter and Reddit of like, this is kind of a weird investment. Like you could just screenshot it, blah, blah, blah. And then there's like the actual side, the more, I would say, knowledgeable side that's like, well, this is like owning a piece of like digital property, digital land. And then I hear things of like, oh, you should buy a house in the metaverse and like all this kind of digital space that I kind of lump in with Bitcoin just because it's also in a digital space.
It's all part of the Web3 collective.
Right.
Yes.
So how do things like that play into the world of Bitcoin, do you think?
So this is getting very deep very fast, right? It's very complicated. So as a purist, Bitcoin was the very first digital cryptocurrency. Right. And then because Bitcoin was open source, it was used by everyone, people were able to copy it and make other cryptocurrencies after that, whether it's Litecoin, Dogecoin, Ethereum, all these many other coins. Okay. Now with NFTs are actually tokens that run on Ethereum or other similar networks. So they're built on top of the digital currency ecosystem. They're run by a smart contract, which runs on the Ethereum sort of virtual machine. Okay. So this is where it gets kind of a bit complicated. And then the NFT themselves are not the actual images or the digital land, but rather it's a pointer. It has a unique ID that says that photo or that image or that piece of virtual land is what this token represents. And it's a one-to-one relationship. And that's why you could trade this token. So it's a little bit, you're not investing in the thing itself. You're investing in a piece of paper, a title. Right? It's not paper, it's electronic paper.
Like almost like a deed.
Like a deed. You're exactly right. It's like a deed. The NFT is the deed to something else. Now, is this valuable? Are these valuable? Well, it depends what the underlying thing is. Right? So with Bitcoin, you're just trading the Bitcoin itself, the actual asset. Whereas with NFTs, you're trading the deeds. And sometimes a deed points to something useful. Sometimes it just points to a shared piece of art. So you don't actually need the deed to look at art.
Right.
Right. So that's the issue people have with NFTs.
Yeah.
Like if you bought this NFT of this Bored Ape, you know.
Right.
Well,
anyone can look at it.
I can look at it. Like, hey, I can hang it. You know, in theory, I can hang it, make a poster of it, and hang it in my living room. Now, the deed does say, "Oh, you have the copyright to it, and I can't do it. You could sue me for copyright infringement." But for all intents and purposes, I can look at it all day long and think that I have it or pretend that I have it. When in theory, you might have the actual NFT deed to that.
Right.
Yeah, so this is where it gets a little bit tricky.
Yeah, that is very complicated. That's kind of why I feel bad lumping Bitcoin with them, because I know it's like Bitcoin's more of a monetary thing.
Exactly. It's a monetary good.
Yeah, versus like NFTs and the metaverse, which is just kind of more like like internet property at that point.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah. No, I think with like investing in Bitcoin, I think it gets a bad reputation, especially on social media, because of things like that. Like I see NFT people fighting all the time.
Yes.
And then they just like to throw in like, oh, I have this amount in Bitcoin, I have this amount in like Dogecoin, like blah, blah, blah. And it just kind of misconstrued the purpose, I think, of cryptocurrency.
Yeah. That's right. Good. Good. So you're on your way to becoming a very smart investor.
Yeah. Hopefully, maybe in the future, maybe I could buy a house with cryptocurrency.
There you go.
I think that would be very interesting, or pay my student loans with cryptocurrency.
There you go.
That would be very
fascinating. But you got to earn some money to get the cryptocurrency first. So you're going to earn some money, invest in the crypto.
Right.
And then as the crypto appreciates in value, then you can start spending it. Yeah. So, make sure you have a long-term vision for that.
What is the baseline of like how much does like a cryptocurrency cost?
So each one's different, right? Like I said, Bitcoin is a gold standard. Bitcoin, has been historically trading between in the last few months between $15,000 and $20,000. But the price can go up and down.
Okay.
Quite a bit. It's very volatile. So very large movements compared to traditional things. And then other coins like you said, Dogecoin and these other meme coins are usually much cheaper. So for the same $100, you feel like you're getting a load of these other coins. So people think, oh my gosh, I can get more, so it's more valuable. But it's not necessarily the case.
So if I put like $100 into Bitcoin, I technically own Bitcoin.
Yeah, you own Bitcoin. You own a fraction amount, 0.00 whatever. But you actually would own real Bitcoin. And then when the Bitcoin value goes up, if it goes up 10%, your $100 will also go up 10%. It becomes $110 worth of Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right. The Bitcoin unit stays the same, but the value of it becomes $110. If it doubles in price, that same amount of Bitcoin would now be worth $200, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And then if it decreases, if
it decreases, if it goes down by 20%, what you put in as $100 worth of Bitcoin will now only be worth $80. Right.
Right.
Yeah, and it will go up and down. It will fluctuate. So it's not a sure thing, up and up and up. It might go down on some days, it might go up on some days. But what I urge you to do is, if you invest in Bitcoin, is have a longer time horizon.
Gotcha.
So look at it for 3 years, 5 years, and I think in that sort of time horizon, then your chance of it being a good investment is very high.
And how do people because you can see, like, I'm assuming predictability, like, oh, what's the 5-year like engagement if I invest now? How do people gauge like how much it'll fluctuate? Because obviously you can't predict. It could go up and down either way. But is there any kind of method to kind of see, to start thinking about that?
I don't think there is. There is no set volatility expectations for it. I mean, there's some measurements. There's some, the finance people have some measurements in terms of how to measure the volatility of Bitcoin versus some other stocks or other things. Bitcoin is very volatile. Just want to get your expectations right.
Right.
And it could either go up a lot or it could go down a lot.
Gotcha.
But as long as you have the time horizon that's quite long, like a multi-year time horizon, then I think Bitcoin makes better sense.
Gotcha.
Right? Yeah.
So it's a very long-term investment.
It is. It's a long-term investment. Yeah. And plus, you'll live a long life. So don't forget that. Right? It's if you're terminal in the bed, you're about to die, you're like 89 years old, you only have 2 years left to live, then Bitcoin is probably not the right investment. But even then, you might have children and grandchildren, so you might want to invest in. Yeah, you want to pass on. Yeah.
So do you think like now is the right age? Do you encourage people my age to start investing no matter how little? Or do you think that I should wait until I have a little bit more to start putting stuff
That's a great question. So I can't give financial advice, but if I tell my own family members and relatives, I would say, yeah, I mean, there's no age that is too young to invest in cryptocurrency. The key thing is in moderation, right? So you're young, you just got out of college, you started your first job, you're making some money, you're making ends meet, paying rent, making car payments, buying food, inflation. You don't have a lot of money saved up for investments.
Right.
But if you want to buy $100 or even $20 worth of Bitcoin, try it out, get your feet wet, right? But certainly don't overextend yourself. Don't go buy $1 million with Bitcoin and get $1 million loan to do that.
Right.
Just same thing. If you were to buy a house, you probably buy a small starter home or a condo, right? You wouldn't buy some big mansion because banks won't lend you the money.
No.
Even if they did, it's probably not responsible.
Right.
Right. So same kind of thing. When you buy your first car, I don't care if it's a new car or a secondhand car, you want to buy something that's moderate and not like a super expensive one that you can't afford, so to speak. So that's the thinking.
And where do you recommend, I think the internet's such a sketchy place, where do you recommend starting to like, what websites or like places do you start investing in?
For how to buy Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
That's a great question. So you mentioned these ATMs, ATMs in the retail casinos and convenience stores.
Right.
So that's probably a fast and simple way to go to the ATM. There are two things to consider. They do charge a fee. They do charge a service fee.
Gotcha.
The service fee for ATMs can go above 10%, 15, even 20, 25%. So it is an expensive service fee at the ATMs. Traditionally, the exchanges, the online sites like Coinbase, Kraken, Gemini, those sites, you could set up an account and buy the Bitcoin. There would be much less in fees, probably just 1 or 2% or even less than that. But you need to do all the accounting system. Like you have to link your bank account, type in your name, your social security number. So there's a little bit of complication there.
Right.
So those are the two ways. A third way to meet someone on the street or meet someone you know who can sell you some Bitcoin. So that's a third way to do it. Or the fourth way is if you perform some services, if you want to do some babysitter job or mow the lawn or help do some copy editing for someone or some company, and they might pay you in Bitcoin.
Okay.
Right. So those are the ways for you to acquire Bitcoin and cryptocurrency.
It's just a little, I guess, frightening putting in all that personal information.
Yeah. So it's trade-off, whatever you're comfortable with.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's interesting that like there are physical ATMs though to be able to do that.
There are. Yeah, lots of them in Las Vegas. You can find them all around the country as well.
Right. And then I'm sure El Salvador.
Yeah, in El Salvador for sure.
Sure. Yeah, because that's where you're going to take your cash out.
Good.
I'm trying to think. I had another question, but I think it escaped my mind.
Okay.
But no, this is very insightful, definitely, because I think the culture surrounding it for the Zillennials or Gen Zs or whatever, it's very like hype beast, like super kind of dude bro, like meme coins. I not
so
to
you gotta
blame
watch out for those. You gotta watch out for those.
Yeah. Not to blame Elon Musk for it, but I think he has a lot of involvement with that.
Yeah, good. Well, very good. So thank you for being on the podcast. I hope you pun. I'm sure you'll be researching this more over the next few months and years, and hope that you make some good investment choices.
Yeah, thank you for the insight. I feel a little bit more educated.
Great. Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for staying on the Bobby Lee Bitcoin podcast, and see you again soon.